As Missouri stepped on the floor to work out this afternoon, there was a confidence. You could see a team that can taste getting to the Final Four.
A lot of people ask, why are you on a mission? I think anytime you go into the NCAA tournament, you know, it could be your last game, any game. So we're kind of on a mission and trying to win every game, game by game, and whatever it takes.
And what it will take is a great effort by everybody against a Syracuse team that beat the Tigers in overtime earlier in the season.
I think that most of our guys don't really look at it as, you know, a chance to get even or anything like that. It's another opportunity for us, and that's the way we look at it.
You know, this game matches up two of the great point guards in America, Sherman Douglas, the general from Syracuse, and Lee Coward. They're calling him General Lee at Missouri. But, you know, it may be the big guys who decide this game up front. Gary Leonard, Doug Smith from Missouri, and Derek Coleman from Syracuse, who's had a bad back and trying to recover.
Well, their size is a big factor, but also the fact that they shoot the ball very well from the outside.
Our main thing is trying to stop some of their really transition where they just throw the ball at the end of the floor and have a layup by themselves.
And so the verbal battle continues. But Kenny Battle is the guy we talk about now. Because earlier in the day, during Illinois' practice, he slipped on a wet spot on the floor and went down very, very hard. He was down for about 5 minutes, and it had a lot of Illinois people holding their breath.
What happened, and the reason he fell, is there was a leak from the ceiling, and there's water down there. Of course, we didn't know it was there. He is okay. He should be ready to play.
This is just another game. That's the way we look at it. I mean, we get more media attention, but it's just another game.
And so the matchups are set. Illinois-Louisville and Missouri-Syracuse. It should be a marvelous night of basketball.
On holy with Illinois beating Louisville. And Billy Packer, who do you like in that Syracuse-Missouri game to start out in Minneapolis?
To me, a lot depends on Derek Coleman, Brendan. The fact that he has not been healthy for, what, 2.5 weeks now. If Missouri's at full strength and Syracuse not, you have to like the Tigers. Goes up. Morning goes for the shot block. Therefore, nobody down inside.
And we'll keep you up to date on that North Carolina State-Georgetown game at the Meadowlands. But right now, they're just about set to tip off the action out at the Metrodome in a contest between Missouri and Syracuse. So let's take you out to Minneapolis and join our announcers Vern Lundquist and Tom Heinsohn.
We are back in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the Metrodome with 33,000 on hand on this Friday night for Game 2 of the Midwest Regional Semifinals. Out of the Big 8, the Missouri Tigers, and out of the Big East, the Orange Men of Syracuse. Winner of this game, featuring the number 2 and number 3 seeds, advances to take on the Fighting Illini in the regional final here Sunday afternoon. Illinois, a 14-point victory over Louisville earlier this afternoon. Good evening, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist. Exactly 1 day shy of 4 months ago, Missouri and Syracuse met for the first time ever. It was in the finals of the Big Apple NIT at Madison Square Garden. The game went to overtime before Stevie Thompson, the outstanding junior forward, scored this go-ahead bucket. He had 23 points as Jim Boeheim's bunch, the Syracuse Orange Men, defeated Missouri 86-84. But since that time, Missouri has really come on and played very well. They won the Big 8 Conference Tournament rolling over Oklahoma. And speaking of rolling over, yesterday in Columbia, before they departed from Minneapolis, they rolled over a few oranges, as they hope to do this evening here in Minneapolis. My partner again is Tommy Heinsohn. Tommy, Missouri playing so well at this critical point of the season, and among those who's really been outstanding is Doug Smith.
Well, they've got a big front line, but none bigger than Doug Smith, because at 6'10", this sophomore really knows what to do with it. Gets down in the low post, and you see, can go up over almost anybody. Very active, got 32 points in this game against Texas, and very good off the boards to boot.
Missouri is very tall, which means that the tallest of the Orangemen, Derek Coleman, must have a big game, but he's fighting a back injury.
Well, he spent all week really trying to get back from that back injury. You see him here being worked on. He missed the first game in the tournament. Syracuse won easily. He played a little bit in the second game, but during this week, they're trying to get him unlimited because they're going to need 100% Derek Coleman effort tonight plus a career game, I think, in rebounding and scoring on the inside.
So it's Coleman and the Syracuse Orangemen against the Missouri Tigers. Here are the starting lineups. Mike Sandbody, Doug Smith, Gary Leonard is 7-1. The backcourt, Lee Coward, and the off guard is Byron Irvin. And for Syracuse, familiar names to many of you: Billy Owens, the freshman, Steve Thompson, Derek Coleman, Matt Rowe, the shooting guard, and the first-team All-American point guard, Sherman Douglas. Missouri's road to this point, they defeated Creighton and knocked off Texas. And Syracuse won over Bucknell big, and then only 65 points, a season low in a victory, but they did get by Colorado State.
What you're going to see this evening is Missouri's attempt to try and stop the alley-oop. You must do that against Syracuse. And I think Syracuse has got to get their run game going and get it going quickly.
Coleman and Smith will jump center. It's the sophomore against the junior. Richie Ballesteros will throw the ball up, which he does. And it comes down in the hands of Billy Owens. It's Syracuse in white, Missouri in the black. This is Coleman, and back to Sherman Douglas. Lee Coward, Sherman Douglas, one of the featured matchups tonight. Billy Owens guarded by Doug Smith. Interesting to see what they decide to do on Stevie Thompson. And right now, Mike Sandbody is drawn the defensive task.
Well, he may have the quickness and the size to stay with him if he stays with him the entire game.
Loose ball, battle for it. Gary Leonard goes down to the floor, all 7-1. And Missouri has the ball. This is Byron Irvin to Coward. Now Mike Sandbody. Coward, alley-oop, underneath Leonard, got position, rebound.
They are very adept at getting that ball on the inside. And there's another player going down on the slippery floor right here. Doug Smith just slipped, was retreating up the court. Let's see, wiping something off the floor.
Well, this is a brand new floor. Those of you who were not with us in the first game. And it's peeling already, so repair work will be in order. Actually, the floor after this tournament is over will be sent back to the manufacturer and then repainted. It's painted in the colors of Minnesota now because they are the host team here in Minneapolis. But it will ultimately become the floor of the Minnesota Timberwolves of the NBA. Sherman Douglas barking at a teammate.
Syracuse, a half-court offense. They much prefer to really play on the outside. Running game. They got good three-point shooters. Douglas, Rowe, Billy Owens can hit you with some range. Great penetration there. Back underneath.
And it's 2-2. Another loose ball. Fight for it. Matt Rowe, held ball, possession arrow, says Missouri.
Missouri has good inside rotation, setting picks for each other, and the two guards, Irvin and Coward, will really read the defense, how you're playing it. So I think Syracuse got to talk and talk well so they don't get caught on mismatch situations and leaving Leonard open.
Trap on the baseline on Lee Coward. And still Missouri's ball. A Missouri team that finished second in the Big Eight to Oklahoma, but then devastated Oklahoma in the conference finals under that man, Rich Daly, the interim coach, who replaced Norm Stewart on February 9th. Up and in. Byron Irvin.
Well, that was the size paying off, but guess where the size was coming from? The guard. One of the big things that cannot happen for Syracuse if they hope to win this game is for Derek Coleman to get in foul trouble early. You see the guard, Irvin get inside and do a very creditable job of powering it up against Coleman.
Coleman, Irvin, an excellent free throw shooter. And he gets that one to make it 5-2.
This Missouri team has great depth. Got 7 big guys over 6'8".
That's where Syracuse might be susceptible, as Tommy said, if Coleman gets in foul trouble. On the line, Missouri ball.
In the last matchup, Stephen Thompson just buried them, and I think like he did most of the season, getting out on the front of the fast break and alley-oops. You got to be very careful put one man on Stephen Thompson and keep him with Stephen Thompson.
The alley-oop from Douglas to Thompson particularly, and also Coleman, so much a part of the Syracuse arsenal. Blocking foul underneath, and it's called on the junior out of California, Stephen Thompson.
Well, Missouri is very versatile. They can play big. They can play with Sam Bodie at the quick forward spot, or they can come in and with a guard and in essence play a three-guard offense, and that guard is as good as a forward in the leaping ability. Keeler.
5-2 Missouri lead. Coward, quick touch pass. Leonard. He's hit 2 now. Good start for the 7-footer.
Boy, had a tough shooting day against Texas, as he told us yesterday. That was not one of his favorite games, he said.
Tommy Toy. Here's the Coleman move underneath, and that makes it a 7-4 game.
Well, nobody got back down inside to help against Coleman that time.
Quickly down court, Missouri, but the shot no good. And here comes Douglas. He's got Owens on the right side. Here's Stevie Thompson. Short with the shot. Missouri ball. Boeheim applauds his team. It's 7-4 with 17-11 to go first half.
Well, Syracuse may have the quickness advantage at the quick forward spot. Thompson much faster up the court than Sam Bodie, so they might be able to get some fast breaks going against awful rebounds.
Leonard misses, but the tip is good.
Doug Smith, yes, sir. Great weak side rebounder. When Leonard's operating, you have a tendency to forget him, and he'll kill you.
Douglas looks underneath. Billy Owens, three-pointer.
Billy Owens came into his own in game 1 in this tournament. Big day. Gonna need it.
He's not been a prolific three-point shooter. Only the 8th one he's made all year. Left side, Lee Coward. Good. 11-7. Derek Coleman over Leonard, gets his own follow. Third time he draws the foul and will shoot 2.
Coleman says he's not 100%. That he did work out this week, and that the spasming that was causing the problem has loosened up. But because he hadn't worked out in so long, and he's been very winded, so we might take a look at him as the game progresses to see if he's got his legs underneath him.
Here's what has become a familiar pattern late in the season as Matt Rowe gives way to the freshman David Johnson. Matt usually the first one on the bench. David Johnson, the freshman out of Morgan City, Louisiana, number 23, comes in. And again, another slippery spot on the floor. Yesterday, when the teams came out to work out, that was one of the first things they noticed, and it did rain yesterday. If you were with us in the first game, Kenny Battle could not start for Illinois because he had been injured slipping in a wet spot yesterday. Here's Derek Coleman at the line. Shooting 2. Best free throw shooter, which doesn't say a lot.
One of the notorious weaknesses of this Syracuse team. Foul shooting.
I got so tickled at Derek yesterday when we chatted with him. One of our young producers wanted to do a feature on foul shooting. He said, you talk to Stevie Thompson. I'm the leader on this team. I'm hitting 70%. 11-8 as he gets 1 of 2. Off the hand of Doug Smith.
Got to move the big guys of Missouri off the box. Move them out. But Doug Smith's got good range for a big guy.
Leonard fronts defensively on Coleman, traveling. That's the first Syracuse turnover.
Well, that man right there is the guy that's got to control the flow of the offense of Syracuse. And boy, has he orchestrated some great offensive rushes by the Syracuse team.
15:45 to go first half. 11-8, Missouri leads it. Alley-oop, Leonard.
Well, the first alley-oop, Missouri.
What is the key, Tommy, as Coward shadows Douglas and Douglas puts it up? What is the key to stopping the Syracuse alley? Here's the transition game. Oh, what a move. And David Johnson comes down with it for Syracuse.
And that's why he's in the ball game, to give him another rebound instead of Rowe.
Coleman, that's kicked. Syracuse ball.
Well, let's take a look at this alley-oop coming up. One thing you can't do is lose your attention. You got to get all over the passer, but you got to try and cut the man off before he gets to the corner of the backboard. And that time they really did not think that they were going to alley-oop, and he sneaked in there for the easy one.
What's the key now for Coward and Douglas to prevent that alley-oop?
Sam Bodie has got to stay on Thompson, because he's the target of most of the alley-oops for Syracuse. And if he loses attention on Thompson, whoa.
That's another Syracuse turnover. Time has been called. It's 13-8 Missouri.
Here you see Gary Leonard getting in position, much too good a position against Coleman, who's going to try and defend him all night long, one-on-one. As it turns to the middle, that turns Doug Smith loose as Owens came over to help out. But one-on-one, you've got to get that big guy out up the lane a little bit to give yourself a little room to operate. And that's where the foul trouble may come in with regards to Derek Coleman, bumping him up the lane.
Gary Leonard has hit 3 of his first 4 shots. Georgetown leads by 14 at the half, 42-28. Full court press employed by Syracuse. Hell ball. Possession arrow, Syracuse.
They come
traveling now, not no hell ball.
They come out of the huddle, and right away they're going to get very serious with this trapping defense. Missouri handles the trap usually pretty well.
Saw Rich Daly and Al Eberhard on the Missouri bench. Owens has hit 1 from 3-point range. Almost stolen by Byron Irvin. And Doug Smith gets called with a foul.
Now, Douglas is the key to the flow of their offense. He's got to read where it's happening. He's done a great job all season long, mainly in the penetration department, getting inside. Coward is a quick little guard, about the same size as Douglas, so Douglas may have a tough time getting into that paint.
Greg Church comes in to replace Doug Smith, who sits down with his second team foul. Greg Church averaging 9 points per game off the bench. Very valuable contributor for the Tigers. Senior from Palmyra, Missouri. Johnson, nice entry pass to Coleman with a move.
Now that time they picked Coleman to get in right underneath.
Talk about a contrast in emotions. How about Coleman and then Rich Daly?
Oh, Rich Daly. And Leonard is just a little bit late. They didn't switch, and that turned Coleman with the great leaping ability to go over the top. Now, Leonard doesn't have that. Oh, it's low post game against low post game so far.
Coleman gets the free throw and the 3-point play. Here's Lee Coward. He had Leonard left side, but puts it off the glass himself.
Well, they beat the tough part of the defense and attacked the shot blocker, and Coleman elected to back away so not to get into foul trouble.
Missouri jumped off to a 7-2 lead. Here's the first alley-oop. And there was Gary Leonard getting back to make the steal.
He sure was, right on the money. Somebody said to him, stop the alley-oop yesterday, and like the nickname implies, they call him Socrates. He said, why? They must have explained it to him.
Thompson on the run. Great defensive job by Sambodi.
Sure was. Just took away the attack angle from Thompson.
Mike Sambodi makes the block. 15-11. It's Irvin, Leonard, Church, Mike Sambodi, and Coward from Missouri. Off the pick, Coward, nice fake, takes the shot.
Lots of poise here by Missouri. Not letting this game get up-tempoed and frenzied unless they want it to be.
Lead is back to 6, 17-11. Missouri, as we said, jumped off 7-2, and they've not trailed. Billy Owens. The tip. No. Leonard rebound. Greg Church, too far to the left. Substitution for Syracuse. Matt Rowe comes back in, and Stevie Thompson will go out. Rich Daly looks on. There's Matt Rowe back in the lineup, and Thompson gets a rest and a conversation with Jim Boeheim. Welcome those of you who've been watching the Georgetown, North Carolina State game. We're 13:07 remaining in the first half. Vern Lundquist, Tommy Heinsohn. The Missouri Tigers jumped off 7-2. Gary Leonard has hit 3 of 4 and grabbed a couple of rebounds. And it's a 17-11 Missouri lead over the Syracuse Orangemen right now.
Missouri has played excellent defense, and they've also gotten the ball where they figure their advantage is on the inside, and it's paid dividends.
3 attempts at it, and Coleman gets the follow. Derek Coleman playing with a back problem. Injured his tailbone in the final regular season game of the year against Georgetown when he tried to block a Jaren Jackson shot. Said he's operating at about 80%. On the floor for Missouri, that's Mike Sandbody, number 42 in black with the ball. This is Lee Coward. Others are Lee Irvin. This is Gary Leonard and Greg Church. The only sub in the game thus far for Missouri, and he is fouled by David Johnson. Thus far, Missouri 57%, Syracuse at 45%. Missouri has been out-rebounded by 2. Coleman leads all scorers with 10. Gary Leonard, as we said, has hit 3 of 4 to lead Missouri with 6 points. Both teams come into this encounter 29-7, second meeting between the two ever. And off the bench here is Nathan Button, Jr., out of Detroit.
And he's a leaper inside and can get the job done.
Winner of this game takes on Illinois in the regional final here Sunday afternoon. Church misses the first.
Well, Church has been their proverbial sixth man. Comes off and really provides them with some solid blue-collar work. Can rebound. Good outside shooter at times. A little streaky.
18-13.
Roa's in the game now for Syracuse, mainly to try and get that outside game going. Pull the defense out, but Owens and Coleman operate.
Owens being guarded by Greg Church. And they try to get it into Derek Coleman, who's fighting Mike Sandbody. Nice play by Coleman.
Well, they've established this inside game, and he's felt the defense and just absolutely turned the right way every time.
Coleman has 12 of the 15 Syracuse points. The only other man to score was Billy Owens with what for him was a rare three-pointer. 18-15, Byron Irvin for 3.
That's what makes them really tough. They weren't that great an outside shooting team, just kind of average during the regular season, but they've been burning it up in this tournament from the outside. That makes you extend your defense, makes the big guys, makes it easier for the big guys to score inside.
David Johnson, number 23, Coleman, Sherman Douglas. Underneath it goes to Billy Owens. Off the glass for 2. Owens has 5 points.
Well, without Smith in there and Leonard in there, they're just about the same size as Syracuse right now.
Dish pass left side. Mike Sandbody. Byron Irvin. Loose ball. Douglas has it. Here's the pass to Billy Owens.
Alert. Sherman Douglas.
At the other end, Greg Church, fouled by Coleman. And a chance for a conventional 3 as Coleman picks up his second foul.
Well, when you beat a pressure defense, the tough part is to beat the traps up the other end of the court. Once you do that, you now usually have an advantage going to the hoop. Here is an opportunity with a good angle to the hoop, and the shot blocker this time, Derek Coleman, elects to go after the ball. Picks up the foul.
Greg Church will go to the free throw line. And for Syracuse, Richard Manning, the freshman from North Highlands, replaces Coleman. While Coleman missed all of the Bucknell game in the tournament down in Dallas and did not start against Colorado State, it was Richard Manning, the freshman, who drew the starting nods in both those games.
Well, Manning played fairly well, but this is tough duty right now. But he's playing against the second line of the Missouri big guys, so he may be able to play even up with some of these more experienced Missouri big guys.
No basket. No basket.
They're giving him the basket.
Now they're going to give him the basket. That's Sam Licklider out of Dayton, Ohio.
Saying the foul was committed while the ball was in the air.
All right.
And it was a weak side foul. They gave him the 3.
Licklider consulted with Richie Ballesteros, the referee, and the 3 was allowed. It's 24-22.
Right now, Syracuse into a 2-3 zone.
Church. Tipped by Button.
And Button got those leaping legs. Started a significant number of games this season for Missouri. I think it was 25. You got to block him out.
Douglas guarded by Byron Irvin now as they've switched assignments. That shot goes. Billy Owens.
Well, with Coleman out of the lineup, this is something that has not been able to happen or develop consistently for Syracuse this year. Is Billy Owens in that low post because Coleman's been occupying, and there he is stretching out his back, not sitting down, so it doesn't tighten up.
Derek Coleman. Here comes Herman Hareed into the lineup now, and Richard Manning is out, and Billy Owens goes to the line. Well, in the one game in which Coleman could not play against Bucknell, this young man, Billy Owens, had a career-high 27 points, and he gets the three-pointer to cut the margin to 1. 26-25, 9:45 to go. In East Rutherford, New Jersey tonight, Georgetown leads North Carolina State 42-28 at the half. They will take on Duke on Sunday afternoon. As Duke outlasted Minnesota tonight, and others, of course, last night, UNLV and Seton Hall both advanced. Doubleheader game tomorrow, Virginia against Michigan from Lexington. And game 2 from Denver, UNLV against P.J. Carlesimo's Seton Hall Pirates. 26-25 our score. Missouri has led throughout.
And Syracuse in the 2-1-2 zone now, saying we're going to try and take it quickness, use some quickness with you on the inside, but great ball movement that time by Missouri to spread out that Syracuse zone and then slip it inside. One of the great attributes of Missouri is their interior passing ability. All their big guys, good passers.
Jimmy Boeheim, who always has a harried look. At the line, Greg Church. Church gets 1 of 2. Lead is back to 2 at 27-25. Sherman Douglas. This is a Syracuse team that jumped off to a 13-0 edge. And there's Greg Church, a little out of control after he made the steal.
He tried his darndest that time to control it, put it behind his back. Pretty mobile 6'8" guy.
Douglas tried just one alley-oop pass thus far, Tommy.
Boy, and the alley-oop is Syracuse's blindness blanket. You know, it's if they don't get it, they're liable to start sucking their thumb. They need it for their emotional security, I'm telling you.
Stevie Thompson goes for the layup, and Lee Coward and Matt Rowe get into it.
Matt Rowe in the backcourt, this is not really a good pressing team because Rowe does not have those quick feet and real quick hands. You're going to see on the right side there, he's going up, challenging the man, the inbound pass, and then a little pushing and shoving. Could have gone either way, actually.
And on the court, Lee Coward will try the free throw as Syracuse 7th team foul. Missouri has never, ever been in the Final Four, nor has Seton Hall. It's been since 1952 that Illinois has made it. They've got yet one more chance. Michigan hasn't been there since '76. How about the job that Steve Fisher and Michigan has done?
Well, that was some game last night against North Carolina, who really had their rhythm. J.R. Reed threw some big numbers at him. Glenn Rice just did it to him for 34 big outside points. Big 3-point shots in that game.
Coward misfires on the second, 28-27. And the Orangemen with a chance to get the lead for the first time.
Not too many fast breaks by Douglas.
That shot off the mark, and Greg Church picks it up. Anthony Peeler, by the way, has come on the floor, the outstanding freshman guard, number 44. He's down along the baseline right now.
Boy, I watched them alley-oop to him. He's the equal of... Whoop.
That's the second Missouri alley-oop. They're 1 of 2 now. That's Church, and this is Peeler.
They went to Doug Smith that time. But against the zone, that's one of the favorite tactics. Get down. If you extend it, alley-oop over the top and on the baseline.
Coward with a pump fake. Church, yes.
Overloaded that time. Church has held good position. I'll tell you, Coward has done a great job all season long in controlling this offense for Missouri.
Derek Coleman on the bench with 2 fouls for Syracuse. Traveling. That's the 7th Syracuse turnover. There is Derek Coleman. He's not on the bench. He's stretched out on the floor. Again, a problem with his lower back. He injured it while trying to block a Jaren Jackson shot last regular season game. David Johnson back in the lineup for the Orange men now. Gary Leonard returns from Missouri.
Well, they're rotating their big people, very fresh. So they'll be able to run. They're trying to pound the size at Syracuse right now with fresh legs.
Syracuse still in the zone. Church trying to draw the alley-oop pass along the baseline. Dishes to Leonard. Nice jump hook.
Boy, that was that good interior passing once again by Church to Leonard, who was wide open on a weak side of the court.
That's 8 points for Gary Leonard, the senior, out of Belleville, Illinois. Off balance, Billy Owens.
I gotta tell you, Billy Owens, to get that shot off that time after the ball had been knocked out of his hands, you really see the quickness of his hands to retrieve the ball and get the shot off.
After a 4.5-minute rest, Derek Coleman will come back in with 2 fouls. And Herman Hareed goes to the bench. Coleman with 12 points.
Now, nothing great happened for Syracuse while Coleman was on the bench, and that's not much of a surprise. If they were trying to go to this man, Billy Owens, undoubtedly will be one of the all-time great Syracuse players, because he's got a finesse game to go with a power game. He can get down low and go over people, can step outside, drive on them, and hits very well from 18 feet.
Owens gets 2, and he's got 12. He and Coleman have carried the offensive load now. Sherman Douglas with only 3 points, the leading scorer for Syracuse. 32-29, 6:45 to go. Peeler chases down the loose ball. It'll go to Syracuse. We're at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota, regional semifinal in the Midwest Regional. Syracuse trailing Missouri here 32-29 with 6:42 to go in the half. Georgetown over NC State in the second half. Earlier, Duke outlasted Minnesota. They'll meet the winner of Duke, North Carolina State. And earlier here, the Illini got by Louisville by 14 points. So Illinois meets the winner of this game here Sunday afternoon. Coleman blocked by Leonard. Offensive foul on Coleman. That's 3. And that's key.
It sure is. He's got lots of room to stop and take the jump shot. There was no need to power his way in. And you've got to be a little bit smarter than taking it to the hoop when you've got 2 personal fouls and you're worried about picking up the 3rd.
Boeheim pleads the call with Paul Hausman, one of the officials, but at the other end, Sam Bodie at the line. So Coleman was on the bench with 4 fouls for 4 minutes. Tommy comes back in and picks up number 3 in less than 30 seconds.
You know, it's surprising to me right now what's happened in this ball game is that Sherman Douglas has not gotten on track. Has not gotten his game together, either outside or the ability to penetrate. What really gets Sherman going is if they can defensive rebound, which they're having a difficult job doing, and get the ball and take off up the court.
Nice dish by Smith. Byron Irvin for 2.
Boy, those big guys really can pass. Read the defense like it was in the playbook.
Johnson, Thompson, Owens, Douglas, and Hareed on the court for Syracuse. Fine play. Billy Owens has 14.
That guy's got to get on track, and so does Stephen Thompson, as some of their big guns have not fired yet.
Lead is 4. 5:50 to go first half. Second time the 2 teams have ever met. Both come in 29-7 on the year. Peeler. The follow good by Sandbody. Or Doug Smith.
Doug Smith just went right over the top of Hareed and Billy Owens.
the steal. Douglas gets it back. And a foul on Johnson. This, of course, the second game here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Earlier tonight, despite the absence of starters Kenny Battle and for much of the game Lowell Hamilton, Illinois outlasted the strong Louisville team. Pervis Ellison played with an injured knee for much of the game, and a late run gave Illinois a 14-point victory. Lou Henson told us after the game it's the most significant victory he's had since he's been at Illinois because of the injured starters they had.
Well, in addition to that, it's the first time that people in Illinois have ever seen Lou Henson's team really go that far, and it's certainly going to help that Illinois recruiting. He's been trying to prove his program there for an awful long time.
Well, they did make it to a regional final in '84, but they lost to Kentucky in that one. They've never been to the Final Four in Lou. There's a foul on Hareed. And Doug Smith will go to the free throw line. Smith, the sophomore, 32 points against Texas. He came alive in the Big 8 tournament, Don.
You know what they started doing with him during the season? He's got a finesse game, too, so he can go on the outside. They had him playing on the perimeter more than on the inside. And I think this man right here made a decision. Let's get him in closer to the hoop. And he had lost his confidence on the outside a little bit. When he gets in the paint and gets it going, that sparks the rest of his game.
For the first time, the lead is at 8. 39-31, under 5 minutes to go. Johnson looks for Douglas. Sticky man-to-man of Missouri. Irvin on Douglas now. Hits the shot. That's 5 points for Sherman Douglas.
Well, he's looking to put it in his own hands, and he's against a very wily defender. I didn't think he was going to do that against Carroll, but Peeler's in there.
Peeler comes out with it. Ball is tipped and taken by the Orangemen. Hareed just does get it away. 4:25 to go first half, 39-33. Missouri leads it.
Why does Missouri get people back in a hurry to stop the fast break of Syracuse?
Oh! Smith comes out for the block. It's over his head, and Sandbody gets it. Quickly to Peeler, freshman of the year in the Big 8. From the corner, no. But look at Peeler take away the rebound, and Leonard get fouled by Billy Owens.
Anytime that somebody's got good position down in that low post, everybody in that small man core of Missouri knows it and gets him the ball.
Lee Coward comes back in after Peeler had given him a short rest, and Jimmy Boeheim stalks quietly out of his team. Gary Leonard.
He had a cute little thing to tell us yesterday, didn't he? He said, I went to that press conference. He said, I thought it was the Contra hearings.
He's loose. Time has been called. 4:03 to go. First half. It's Missouri by 7. Just to give you a quick idea of how the seeding has worked out in this year's tournament. In the first round, 20 higher seeded teams advanced, and 15 of 16 in the second round. But in the third round, the lower seeds have won 4 of 6 games thus far. Form did hold here in Minneapolis, where the top seed, Illinois, got by the number 4 seed Louisville earlier tonight. And it also held in East Rutherford, where Duke defeated Minnesota. In this game, the number 3 seed is leading the number 2 seed by 7. And the number 2 seed's best center is on the bench with 3 fouls, Derek Coleman. Sherman Douglas.
He's trying to get some spark into the Syracuse team. He was trying to deliver the ball to the inside to Coleman early. And now he's going to have to really do something himself to try and get Syracuse out of the doldrums.
Check the lineup on the floor now from Missouri. There's Coward. That's the third alley-oop they've tried. They're 1 out of 3 now. At the other end, here comes Billy Owens. Offensive foul.
Now that was not a very smart play by Billy Owens. They had a 4-on-2. All he had to do was deliver it to Sherm Douglas, and it's 2 points. He puts it behind his back, and then just, look, he had 1 man, 2 men on the right wing that he could have delivered it to. saying he's knocking on wood there, right?
I kind of admire Lee Coward for standing in there while the express comes through.
Deliver the mail.
Yeah, knowing it's going to hurt. 40-35. 2:57. It's a case where Coward was misnamed. He wasn't. 40-35. Rebound. Sherman Douglas. Derek Coleman again on the bench with 3 fouls. 12 points. Billy Owens also has 14 points. Shot clock at 20. Owens with Irvin guarding him. Coward is back on Douglas now. And Sherman Douglas is short with a shot. Leonard with a rebound.
Well, they're not able to get the ball inside to Owens, so he wasn't able to go one-on-one, and Sherman had to give it a go.
Stephen Thompson. Billy Owens. Nice pass underneath to David Johnson.
Well, that time Billy Owens had his head up. It was a 3-on-1. Picked out the right man, too.
6-2 run now. Mini run put together by Syracuse. They have cut the 8-point lead to 3. And there's Doug Smith with the answer at the other end.
Great entry pass that time. Owens had no chance whatsoever to contest that shot by Smith.
Douglas and Coward. There's a mini alley-oop.
Yep, and in the penetration, when he gets into the paint and draws the attention of all the big defenders, that's when he goes for the alley-oop.
Billy Owens with 16 points. He and Douglas have grabbed hold now for Syracuse in the absence of Coleman.
You know, that alley-oop, once again, it's like, if you can take the alley-oop away from Syracuse, it's like them going to a birthday party and they didn't get a hat or a horn. You know, they're just not going to have a good time, even though they're at a party.
Well, it's funny, we were talking to Sherman Douglas yesterday about the alley-oop, and he said, we use it to get ourselves stoked up and to get the fans stoked up. It's as much an emotional device for us as it is a tactical device. They'll play for the final shot. 42-39. And Coward and Douglas bump each other.
Coward's trying to keep it away from Douglas, the penetrator.
Oh. 2 seconds left in the shot clock. And Leonard with the foul. Or was there? Did the shot clock go before the foul was called?
We have a shot clock violation on that. Okay, we're shooting.
No shot clock violation.
Yep.
Rich Daly thinks there was.
As a man that was placed in one of those very difficult situations as boss, Norm Stewart, down with cancer and placed in a situation where he went from buddy to boss very quickly and ruffled a few of the feathers of the Missouri players until they really learned to deal with the new situation.
Well, he had recruited most of them, and Bob Brendel, the public relations director, said, just as Tommy said, Rich Daly had the problem of having been the man who asked them to come to the school, then he became their boss and had to discipline them. Richard Manning getting ready to come in as Owens will try the second of 2 free throws. Doesn't get it. 8 seconds to go in the half. 42-40. Coward. And there's the horn that ends the first half of play. Syracuse, despite the absence of Derek Coleman on the bench for much of the last 10 minutes with 3 fouls, does fight back to trail within 2, and Rich Daly argues about it with Paul Hausman. That's the end of the half with our score: Missouri 42, Syracuse 40. CBS Sports coverage continues after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship.
In the Midwest Regional Semifinal, the Missouri Tigers up 2 on Syracuse. And Syracuse saddled right now with 3 fouls on Derek Coleman as we enter halftime. And we bring you back to our studios in New York. Jim Nance along with James Brown. And we have 2 spots still available in the Final 8. And 2 games are hot right now. We'll be taking you to Georgetown and North Carolina State in just a moment. This sports news item just coming in tonight involving Oklahoma basketball coach Billy Tubbs. He is quoted as saying he is interested in the coaching vacancy at Kentucky, although he is not an official candidate for the job. Tubbs quoted as saying, "I'm willing to listen to anyone who wants to talk to me." That's a story out tonight about Billy Tubbs. Of course, Eddie Sutton resigning as the Wildcat coach last Sunday. All right, the scores from earlier tonight. In the East, Duke a 17-point winner over Minnesota. The Gophers never closer than 11 points in the second half. Robert Brickey, 9 for 10 from the floor, 21 points leading the way for the Blue Devils. And as we take a look now at the brackets for the East and West regionals, keep in mind the East meets West in the national semifinals in Seattle. UNLV and Seton Hall square off tomorrow in the West. Duke awaiting the winner of Georgetown, North Carolina State. Midwest action earlier tonight. Illinois outscoring Louisville 19-7. The final 8.5 minutes of that game pulling away from the Cardinals. Nick Anderson had 24 points to lead the Illini. Now the brackets for the Southeast and Midwest. Virginia and Michigan will meet tomorrow in Lexington for the Southeast Regional Final, and Illinois awaits the winner of Syracuse and Missouri, the game we are watching. But James, let's talk about North Carolina State and Georgetown. It's down to 4 at one time. Georgetown was in full control.
I was about to mention it looked like it was going to be a blowout, but the action is now heating up between Georgetown and NC State. Only a 4-point Hoya lead. Action got a little too carried away up under the hoop earlier. Avi Lester and Alonzo Mourning first doing a little talking to each other, then a little shoving. Both of the big fellas trying to establish a little territorial rights. Alonzo Mourning had to sit on the bench and get calmed down by John Thompson before returning to the action there. Now, Georgetown had a 16-point lead in the second half, but Rodney Monroe with 13 second-half points has shot Wolfpack within 4. Let's check in with Brent Musburger and Billy Packer.
Welcome those of you who have been watching Syracuse and Missouri. High-scoring first half. That must be a good one. Here it is, Georgetown trying to hold off State. Another foul on the inside. This one has been for men only, down close to the glass. Georgetown led it by 16 at one point. Now the lead has gone down, and that foul on Lester is his 3rd. Howard, their power forward, already sitting with 4 personal fouls. Alonzo Mourning got into a pushing and shoving match with Lester and was benched for a short time, and now he will sit down again. He did not do much, interestingly enough, after that incident. And now Thompson is going to sit him down and go with Jonathan Edwards, a player he has not had in the game and someone he has used only sparingly. So Mutombo does not get the call this time.
A little more experience in Jonathan Edwards. And then when you look up at that scoreboard and think back that Georgetown was leading 42-28 at halftime. Here we are halfway through the second half. Georgetown not able to put anything on the board. Came right out and scored a deuce right at the beginning of the half, and they haven't had one in, what, 8 or 9 minutes now.
Georgetown hit 6 3-pointers in the first half, 4 of them by Bryant, who is here picking up Corciani. So that gives you a view as to how this one has unfolded so far. It's 52-46, down toward that 10-minute mark.
Good time for Corciani to penetrate because he doesn't have a shot blocker.
Brown jams it in.
When you could sense Corciani, being the smart player that he is, realize without the shot blocker in there, go ahead and penetrate, make the dish. Big difference. Jonathan Edwards wide open underneath.
So how long can Thompson go without Mourning becomes the big question. Winston losing it, but the Hoyas have got a loose ball. Jackson hands to the big man to replace Mourning, and Edwards puts in his first field goal of the NCAA tournament.
John coaching by feel here, figuring Edwards be a solidifying factor. Hasn't played a lot. Matter of fact, I don't even think he got in the Big East tournament in the games that we had an opportunity to see. Certainly not with anything on the line.
Here's Monroe on the outside. He's had the hot hand for State this half. Orciani, son of a coach down in the Miami, Florida area, wants to coach himself. His dad watching from the sideline. And a foul against Georgetown. State will shoot two. Now, I mentioned the pushing and shoving match, and those of you who were watching the other game, here is the incident. Billy, why don't you tell everybody what happened?
Well, Avi Lester, Alonso goes up, grabs a good rebound. Avi comes around the backside and hits the ball away. Alonso really didn't start anything here, but then he started to push. Avi stayed right with him, and both of them got in a little shouting match. John Thompson wisely took Alonso out of the game, but from that point on, he has not been a factor, at least on offense.
And so just as you joined us, those of you who are watching Missouri and Syracuse, Mourning was going over to the sideline, and Edwards had checked in. So John Thompson with a coaching gamble now with a young man he has not used much this year. Apparently he didn't feel that Mutombo was giving him what he wanted in this game. And so he elected not to come back with him. And from Monroe.
All right, another asterisk on this game. Charles Smith doesn't have any points in this contest. He's saddled with the fever. Not a critical move, though, if, in fact, Georgetown can keep the pace up tempo and get the supporting cast involved.
All right, James, we'll keep everyone up to date on that game, but let's remind everyone tomorrow's lineup starts out at noon. Coverage starts at 1:50. Southeast Regional Final, Virginia and Michigan. A battle for Seattle in that game, as well as out west, which will be the UNLV Seton Hall matchup. Game coverage for that one starts at about 4 o'clock. And we'll take you back to the Metrodome. Second half for Missouri and Syracuse as we continue on the road to the Final Four.
Along with Tommy Heinsohn, Missouri up by 2 at the half. They have done a great job in denying the alley-oop as part of Syracuse's offense.
Well, this is part of what you have to do if you're going to do a job against Syracuse, to stop the alley-oop. The best way to do it is anticipate it. Cut it off before the guy gets to the corner of the backboard. Very well done that time by Gary Leonard.
On the other side, they've gotten some good inside scoring, Missouri has.
Well, that's what they had to capitalize on, and they did it very nicely. Here's Church taking it, making the back line move, and there's Leonard wide open, sweeping hook. And they've had lots of those kind of plays to make it happen here in the first half.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship continues after this message and a word from your local station.
Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship.
42-40, Missouri leads Syracuse by 2 points at halftime. Largest lead in the first half was at 8. That was at 39-31. And Derek Coleman on the bench for much of the first half with 3 fouls. Offensive rebounds, Missouri 9-5 over Syracuse. Second chance points, Tommy?
Well, the big offensive points being put back in, particularly Doug Smith for Missouri. And Syracuse has got to get that fast break going, which really will help get Stephen Thompson into the flow of the action.
Thompson held to 2 points in the first half on 1 of 4 shooting. Billy Owens blocked. Quick outlet pass by Leonard. Irvin, it's 2-on-2. Intentional foul? No. Yes. Douglas argues a delayed deliberate call foul. Richie Ballesteros. So it'll be 2 plus the ball for Byron Irvin.
How quickly they got that rebound, Missouri, and kicked it out. They've got some speed of their own, but what they've done so beautifully in this game is control the tempo of the game. Nowhere near being played at the pitch that helps Syracuse become very emotional, and the type of game where they can come up with a couple of big bursts of points.
Byron Irvin gets them both, and Missouri gets the ball. Deliberate foul called. Georgetown leads by 7. North Carolina State coming back in that ball game. Howard and Irvin, along with Sam Bodie, Smith, and Leonard on the court.
They're going to try and protect Coleman with a 2-3 zone, so that he doesn't have to defend any one player. But sometimes that's a mistake because you rotate over, and that's when you start reaching to try and block shots.
Coleman playing with 3. Shot clock down to 17. Nice entry pass. Foul on Billy Owens.
Extra special caution that time by Coleman not to pick up his fourth, but in the meantime, Billy Owens had to reach in there and try and knock it away from Leonard. He picked up his third.
So Owens playing with 3, Coleman playing with 3, Matt Rowe with 2 fouls.
This man at the foul line really does a great job of getting position in a low post and sealing a defender on his back. Spreads out beautifully.
Leonard finally gets one to fall. He's 1 of 4 from the free throw line, and Missouri has not been shooting free throws that well. They're now 12 of 17. 45-40. Back to Matt Rowe for 3. Rebound, Coward quickly out to Byron Irvin with Douglas back. Rejected by Thompson. Follow no good by Sambody. Here comes Syracuse. Coleman. No. And that foul is on Matt Rowe. He picks up his third.
Prior to that, picking up that foul, previous trip up the court, took his first shot of the game, and I'll tell you, his fingertips are ice. That shot was way off from the corner.
3 Syracuse players in foul trouble now. Smith to Irvin.
Boy, and Coleman once again just stepped out of the way so he wouldn't pick up that foul. That exposed the whole weak side of the Syracuse defense.
Rowe over Coward, short with the shot. Fights for the loose ball, picks it up, and takes another one. This one goes.
Start out with a couple of jumpers around the foul line and extend your range. You've got to find a hot hand right now, Syracuse. Climb back in this thing as Missouri just playing at the pace they want.
17:30 to go in the ball game. There's the trap underneath, 3-on-1. Douglas, alley-oop, good. Stevie Thompson.
Well, it wasn't a jammer, but it was up high, right over the lone defender. Well, they're getting Thompson into what he does best.
That's only 4 points for Steve Thompson, though. 47-44, lead back down to 3 for Missouri. Byron Irvin. Sambody hits the post. Offensive goaltending. Basket interference. Doug Smith. And now Greg Church and Nathan Button will come into the lineup for the Tigers of Missouri. Sambody and Smith will lead. Missouri, no one with more than 2 fouls. Matter of fact, only 2 with 2, Smith and Leonard. And Owens, Coleman, and Rowe playing with 3.
Coach Daly is doing a great job of rotating his people so that that's why they're not in foul trouble.
47-44. Sherman Douglas spins it off. Coleman for 2. The lead is 1.
When he gets inside the defense, he stays on the ground, and he'll get those big people moving, and he can deliver the pass.
This time they get Gary Leonard. Coleman in danger of picking up his 4th, but the foul call is on Leonard, his 3rd. So he becomes the first Tiger with 3 fouls. And Doug Smith hurries in to replace Gary Leonard. How about North Carolina State coming back now, trailing Georgetown by only 5?
I've got that great outside shooter, Monroe. He can light it up.
Blocking foul. Lee Coward. Count the basket. And it's the first Syracuse lead of the ball game. 8 unanswered points.
Get the ball into the hands of Sherman Douglas, and he makes something good happen. He was trying to deliver the ball most of the first half to the inside people to make their inside game pay off. And if you're going to win a tournament game, I think, a big one, somebody has to step up and control the game. Who better than Sherm Douglas?
16-14 to go in the ball game, and Syracuse has run off 8 in a row. Nathan Button. Coward finds Church. Coleman comes to help out, but has to lay off defensively, and then gets the rebound. Billy Owens. 2 more.
Good alert ball handling that time by Coleman as the middleman on the fast break, and Owens made a good choice to pull up and shoot that 7-foot jumper.
That's 10 in a row for Syracuse. Smith. Syracuse rebound. And the Orange men go into the half-court offense, leading by 3. Alley-oop. No. Button.
They almost pulled it off as they had the whole defense coming up high, and Button alertly got back into the play, but not quite quick enough.
Gary Leonard comes back onto the court for Missouri. Smith goes out. Greg Church goes out. And Peeler is also back in the lineup.
Well, Missouri's gotten away from their inside game. They're powering it inside to Leonard and Doug Smith. When those two are in the game together, that's, I think, when they have the best inside combination.
15:08 to go in the ball game. Douglas. That's 11 for Sherman Douglas. That's 12 in a row for Syracuse.
He is the man, a pressure guy.
Saw the graphic. Missouri 1 of 6 from the field in this half. Byron Irvin tries to hold the string. Gets the rebound, puts the shot up short. Loose ball. Hell ball. And good work by the officials to get down quickly and break it up. Hell ball, the possession arrow pointing Missouri's way.
Then Seton Hall takes on UNLV, a regional finals doubleheader tomorrow on CBS Sports.
At the East Regional semifinal in East Rutherford, Georgetown hanging on now as Jim Valvano's team has come back to within 3. Earlier there, Duke beat Minnesota, and earlier here, Illinois took advantage of 22 Louisville turnovers to post a 14-point win. Virginia, Michigan, Illinois already in. Offensive foul.
Rich Daly during that timeout is undoubtedly trying to get his players to get back into what they were doing so well in the first half. Get it inside. Syracuse has changed up to that 2-3 zone, switched over to a little man-to-man.
That last foul on Byron Irvin, his first. Coleman short with the shot. Leonard tries to get the fast break going. Lee Coward, guarded by Sherman Douglas. Missouri, 1 of 8 in this half. They scored the first 5 points of the half, but have given up 12 in a row. And the drought continues. Owens with a rebound.
They have not gotten the ball inside to Leonard. They have not gotten the ball inside to Button.
Lead is 5 for Syracuse. They took over the lead on a Douglas basket. 48-47, first lead of the ball game. David Johnson, missed time lead for the rebound is in.
Great effort that time by Billy Owens.
And 14 in a row for Syracuse. 54-47, 13:28 to go. Coward over Thompson, wild shot. 1 of 10 now from the field for Missouri.
Well, I'll tell you, and Leonard has been roaming around there on the inside. Why they're not using that is beyond me.
16 in a row for Syracuse. for Syracuse.
Controlled the game so beautifully in the first half. Got it inside. Good inside passing. Church. There it is now.
1 for 11 for Missouri.
And the largest lead of this ball game by either team, currently held now by Syracuse at 9 points.
That's tough to catch. Unless you can go out there and press them in. It's not easy to do that.
Owens and Button. It's called on Nathan Button. Dad Bill, late father Bill, was a great player for the Michigan teams back in the 60s that highlighted Cassie Russell. Finished second to UCLA. Native of Detroit, one of many native Detroits on this ball club. That's the third foul on Button. 12:23 to go, 56-47. 16 in a row for Syracuse. Thompson. Missouri ball. Georgetown, 1:25 remaining. And the lead is still 3 as the Hoyas hang on. Winner of that goes up against Duke.
Right now, Rich Daly has made some changes of brought in San Bodie and Church. Those are really the better passes of the big guys inside. I'm sure that they will try and make it happen. There it is.
Nice pass to Irvin. The shot, no. One field goal for Missouri in the half. And we've played 8 minutes and 20 seconds. 1 of 12 now. Thompson by Irvin.
Folks, we will get you right back to Minneapolis, but right now, the closing seconds at the Meadowlands. Georgetown up 6. North Carolina State has the basketball. Let's join Brent and Billy with the Wolfpack at the line.
Welcome those of you watching Syracuse, Missouri. We're going to ship you right back. You're with us for the final 45 seconds. Georgetown just hit a 3 after a controversial traveling call against Corciani. Corciani hit a driving layup and would have apparently gone to the free throw line, but traveling was the call. Now shooting the 1-on-1, he hits the front end at 49 seconds. Valvano will quickly have to put Georgetown on the free throw line after this play, whether it's successful or the Hoyas get the rebound. 49 seconds to go. Plenty of time. Corciani hits both ends.
Valvano wasn't even afraid in the Iowa game to foul when it put Iowa in a position to have a 2-point lead if they make the free throws. Here goes Long.
He looked long. They don't want to put Smith. He's scoreless in this game. Corciani backs off, checks the coach. Smith wants to go to the free throw line, and now he will.
Big East Player of the Year gets a chance to get his first 2 in a crucial situation here. But Jim Valvano is going to commit a number of fouls before this one's over, Brent.
Final 43 seconds. This will be the final piece in this half of the draw. UNLV, Seton Hall are there in the West. Duke awaits the winner of this game, and then the 2 survivors move on to Seattle in the national championship. Charles Smith is still scoreless. State's ball, down by 4, moving toward 30 seconds. Monroe with the hot hand. Maneuvers. The jumper is there, won't roll. Mourning. They've got a foul on, and they'll put him on the free throw line. Brown assessed the personal, along with Weems, who was right there.
That was a sensational shot by Monroe. He realized Mourning was going to be there and adjusted the shot in midair. Put it up softly on the board. And Brent, they'll be in Raleigh, North Carolina, be going back and replaying that call down inside for the rest of this spring and most of the summer.
And they go back to the bench now to bring some muscle in and take Weems out.
Free throw shooting percentage for Alonzo in the tournament, much better than regular season.
North Carolina State, A.Y. Lester is back in the game.
Big free throws.
Need a three here.
Luciani quickly coming up. Looking for Monroe. Monroe up over Winston. Smith brings down the rebound. And the Hoyas will send Smith to the free throw line with 16 seconds to go. And it is 64-58. And Dalvano can only think of what might have been against Thompson and the Hoyas tonight.
We'll keep you posted on that game, but right now let's take you back to the Metrodome. Syracuse up 7. Missouri has the basketball. Back to Vern and Tommy.
9:23 to go in the ball game. 62-55 now. The lead is 7. Syracuse has maintained an edge it gathered when it scored 16 unanswered points earlier in this half. And we have 9:05 to go in the ball game. Kicked out to Coward.
Sherman Douglas really has taken control of this ball game and has gotten the ball where it's supposed to be.
And again problems. Coward finally saves it from Missouri. Irvin. Church for 2.
Oh, smart move by Coleman not to challenge that shot, reading the scoreboard.
Irvin and Douglas. That's the second foul on Byron Irvin. And that'll send Syracuse to the line. Shooting 1 and 1. Syracuse with only 3 team fouls in this half. And they've had Coleman playing with 3 fouls.
They have rebounded very effectively. All the misses, they have given Missouri only 1 shot. And Missouri was very, very effective putting it back off offensive rebounds in the first half. So Jimmy Boeheim must have gotten a little together there saying, hey, we got to stop this offensive rebounding of this Missouri ball club.
Syracuse hitting 56%. They had a 16-0 run in this half. Owens leads all scorers with 23. Douglas still has 18 after he misses the free throw. 8:34 to go in the ball game. Winner gets Illinois.
The Syracuse zone has had a little bit to do with this situation, too. It's protected Coleman and has also kept their big guys near the boards.
Rich Daly giving Paul Hausman an earful. Daly, the 47-year-old interim coach, took over 14 games ago when Norm Stewart went down with the illness and had cancer surgery. By the way, Tom and I ran into Norm's daughter, Laura, at halftime, and she said, please pass along my best wishes to my dad, so we'll do that.
Well, Norm and I met about 10 years ago down in Philadelphia. He was elected into the Silver Jubilee team. Nice guy. And I want to send my wishes along to him, too.
8:28 to go in the ball game. Syracuse up by 6. Let's have a listen. score. Georgetown hangs on to defeat North Carolina State. It's Georgetown and Duke, the number 1 and 2 seeds in the East Regional Final. And that'll be seen Sunday afternoon on CBS. Back to play now, 63-57. 8:15 to go in the ball game. Lee Coward, short. Stolen. Missouri gets it back. They have the numbers advantage just for the moment, and Smith gets 2.
Great pass by Irvin. Missouri has not solved this 2-3 zone of Syracuse that can be aggressive on the perimeter and take away the outside shot.
Underneath, Douglas. Welcome all of you who are watching Georgetown's thrilling victory over North Carolina State. We have 7:34 remaining in this ball game. And a 16-0 Syracuse run in this half propelled them from 5 down to as many as 9 in front, during which time Missouri, cold from the field, went 1 for 12. The Tigers scored the first 5 of this half, gave up the next 16, fell behind by 9. Right now at 65-61 with 7:10 to go.
Well, they got some good passing big guys in there right now, Missouri. And also very active people close to the boards. Leonard, their center, is on the bench, and Smith is going to be doing that job. But this is the man that's kind of taken over. Douglas has really controlled the pace, the tempo, and the situations in this game.
How about the play by Stephen Thompson? Loose ball. Nifty play by Irvin. Lee Coward blocked. Church gets it back. No goaltending. Air ball. Johnson to Thompson, and here comes Syracuse leading by 4. Sherman Douglas alley-oop to Billy Owens.
Does he read that defense? As soon as everybody's attention is riveted on him, that's when he starts laying it up to the weak side so somebody can go up over the top and stuff it.
Here's a 2-on-2. They'll do it again. And the foul is called on Greg Church as Stephen Thompson goes up on top. He'll shoot a couple. In this bracket, Illinois won a thrilling game earlier here. Despite the absence of 2 starters, they knocked off Louisville. And they will meet the winner of this game Sunday afternoon. Virginia and Michigan have already advanced, and Virginia and Michigan meet tomorrow in Lexington as we continue the countdown on the road to the Final Four. Here's Stephen Thompson, and his problems at this spot have been very well documented. Coming up tomorrow, Virginia, Michigan in Game 1, followed by UNLV and Seton Hall in Game 2. It all starts at 1:50 Eastern Time. Thompson at the line. And it's a 7-point Syracuse lead. The other problems, Tommy, for Syracuse, Derek Coleman picked up his 3rd foul with 6 minutes to go in the first half. Then Rowe picks up his 3rd, and Owens his 3rd in this half, and yet they both continue to play. Rowe is on the bench right now. But they've only got 3 team fouls in the first 14 minutes of this half.
Well, this zone defense has covered up the 2 big guys of Syracuse, Owens and Coleman, and really protected them from committing fouls. And yet has been able to go outside and challenge the outside shooters of Missouri. And both Coleman and Owens and Stevie Thompson, and at times David Johnson, have controlled the boards and given it to this guy who has really made it hum.
Now Herman Hareed will come into the lineup for Syracuse, replacing David Johnson. That last foul on Sherman Douglas, his 2nd. So again, it's Owens and Coleman who are on the court with 3 fouls.
Coleman has really played intelligent defense in this half, knowing when to go for the block, when to step aside, let the man score. Made a beautiful block on a breakaway fast break. And that was a very intelligent play.
Mike Sandbody misses them both. Missouri is 12 of 20 from the line. That has compounded their difficulty. And here's Sherman Douglas, who had 7 points at the half. 13 in this half, and he's really controlled the tempo of the ball game. He and Coward bump off one another. Missouri in the man for man. Smith reaches behind Coleman. And it's off Syracuse. Missouri will get it. Jimmy Boeheim's Syracuse team that started out 13-0 for the year and then ran into disaster as they opened the Big East, losing 4 of 5. Leonard and Button with 3 fouls each. Owens, Coleman, and Rowe with 3 each for Syracuse. And the winner gets Illinois.
3-guard offense now for Missouri. Irvin, Peeler, and Coward. And they're going for the 3-point bombs now.
Byron Irvin got that one. That cuts the lead to 4 with 5:05 to go. Irvin, the first team All-Big 8 performer who played 2 years at Arkansas before transferring. Under 5 minutes remaining. First time these teams have met in tournament play. They did in the NCAA. They met once earlier this year. Syracuse won a 2-point victory in overtime in the Big Apple NIT. 4:38 to go. Winner goes up against Illinois Sunday afternoon. Stolen by Irvin. Coleman gets his 4th.
Well, they got it on an offensive foul, going for a loose ball. He's fooling around with it a little bit too much on the top. He's kind of warding off the man to go for the ball. It really could have been anybody's call.
That's still just the 5th team foul on Syracuse. Time has been called. 4:30 remaining in this regional semifinal in the Midwest from the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Both teams with 4 timeouts remaining. Syracuse still has 1 foul to give, and the possession arrow favors Missouri. 4:30 to go. It's Peeler who will inbound, the freshman, and he does so to Lee Coward, Gary Leonard, Byron Irvin, and Doug Smith also on the court for Missouri. Syracuse has Stephen Thompson, Douglas, Coleman, David Johnson, and Billy Owens to match them.
Well, they have 3 real good outside shooters in there right now, hoping to draw it out so they can slip it in there like that. And Leonard really had a great chance to go over the top of Coleman with the 4.
Back it comes to Coward. There's Peeler. Entry pass. Rejected.
That was goaltending,
and it wasn't called. And now tipped, and Thompson draws the foul.
There was definitely goaltending on that one. It was about 2 inches in front of the rim when he batted it away. And they may be saying, hey, it was short of the rim, but you watch, if that's not on the way down, it's sure. That's goaltending. Whoa.
Rich Daly, the interim coach, is yelling at Bob Barnett, the alternate official. 47-year-old Rich Daly, who took over for Norm Stewart following the surgery 14 games ago. And here's Thompson at the line. And wouldn't you know it, he gets one. Take a look at the goaltending from a little different perspective.
As the shot goes up, and it's right in front of the rim on the way down, that was definitely a goaltend. You know, when they talk about this team turmoil, players say, hey, Coach Stewart told us our job is to play basketball, not get involved in all the other stuff. We're just learning how to deal with a new coach, that's all, period.
Steve Thompson, notorious for his problems with foul shooting, gets 2. He's been shooting free throws relatively well lately. 6-point lead, 3:39 to go. Here's Thompson, chased by Coward.
Surrounded by 3 white jerseys, couldn't find an open man.
Coward for 3, no sir. Smith with a follow, and Syracuse with a break. Douglas, you see that before?
Well, take your thumb out of your mouth. You've got your Linus blanket. The Linus blanket, the emotional crutch for Syracuse, makes them feel good about themselves. The alley-oop, and there's Stephen Thompson on the front end, and when he has nobody behind him, it's going over the top for the cramp.
Gary Leonard, you saw, has 4 fouls for Missouri. Timeouts remaining now. Missouri 3 and Syracuse 4. The winner goes up against Illinois. Missouri, first time they've been in the Sweet 16 since '82 when they had the 2 All-Americans, John Sunbold, Steve Savanovich. There's Church, blocked. It was a 16-0 run earlier in this half that triggered the come from behind. Syracuse trailed at the half by 2. And here's the guy who led it, Sherman Douglas.
My hat's off to Jim Boeheim, too. Coleman picked up his 4th foul, and he's still in the ball game. Boeheim knows full well that this is the point of the game where Coleman is very important. You can't take him out. If he fouls out, too bad.
Shot clock at 18, game clock at 2:24. You can see the shot clock just above the basket as Sherman Douglas and Lee Coward play a little mano-a-mano. The shot, no. The foul, Stephen Thompson. World Figure Skating Championships continue from Paris, France. Tomorrow you'll see a men's recap with the USA's Christopher Bowman and Canada's Chris Browning, plus the pairs competition. That's tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern on CBS Sports Saturday. And it'll lead into our doubleheader, of course, as we continue our coverage of the NCAA basketball championships from both Lexington and Denver tomorrow. And then back with more on Sunday from here in Minneapolis and East Rutherford. Irvin shot, no. The tip is good.
David Johnson really knocked that in.
Foul, Byron Irvin.
He's going to be a target. To inbound the ball to Thompson is to invite disaster for Syracuse, but good things for Missouri right now. Every time Thompson handles the ball, they'll be taking a shot at him.
Here's Stephen Thompson. I was talking about his improved free throw shooting. He's 3 of 4 tonight. And, you know, so much has been made about the problems he's had. But 3 of 8 last week, 5 of 6 against Bucknell. Doesn't get this one. 9 of 12 in the Big East final against Georgetown. 74-66, 150 to go. Church, no, tip is good. Doug Smith, the lead. And a whistle. Timeout is called by Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. Time has been called, 1:44 to go. 6-point edge for the Orangemen over Missouri, 1:44 remaining in the ball game. Timeouts remaining 3 each. What do you expect now from Missouri, Tom?
Missouri's going to have to go up and press, and they're going to be looking to foul quickly. They're only 6 down. If they can come up with a couple of steals, they've obviously selected some guys that they're going to foul. And Douglas, not a bad man. He's not one of their real great foul shooters. Up around 65, 67%. That seems to make them when they count.
That'll put Douglas at the line. Possession arrow pointing Syracuse way. Sherman Douglas 3 of 6 in the ball game tonight.
Syracuse has seen some of the best pressure defenses in the country with Georgetown and some of the other Big East schools. And this man really knows how to deal with it. Now, if he can make these free throws, that's really going to ice this game, because they're going to try and put the ball in his hands most of the time.
1 of 2. 96 seconds remaining. The lead is 7. Coward for 2 points. 75-70. Well, one had to know that it was going to come down to this in a time whoever was playing Syracuse was going to try and put them on the line. And that's what we'll see for the remainder now.
Derek Coleman is their best free throw shooter, shooting just, I think, shy of 70%.
For the evening, Syracuse is 13 of 23 as a team. Coleman is now 2 of 4. The lead is 5.
You got to make the front end of the one-on-one. You got to come up and get at least one of them.
Doug Smith, Byron Irvin, got the roll. Timeout, Missouri. .114 remaining. Missouri trying to put Syracuse on the line, get the rebounds, convert the shots, and get back in it.
Well, obviously they're going to go out and press. It's been successful. If they don't come up with a steal, end up fouling. Stephen Thompson, the prime target. Owen's not a real good free throw shooter. fact, none of them except Coleman, and he's the guy that missed the front end of the one-on-one.
They back away from Coleman. Shot. And there's a foul on Peeler. No delivered foul called.
Now, the object of this whole exercise is to do it quickly, not to allow them to work some time off the clock. And Jim Boeheim was saying he wanted a deliberate foul, no hope. But there's the foul chart.
Well, Thompson at 49%. The team average is 61%. Coleman at 70%. Here's Douglas on the line. He's 3 of 7 tonight.
You just have to make the front end of the one-on-ones. There's no other way. You've got to come away with at least 1 point.
Syracuse 2 of 5 on the front of one-on-ones, including the one they just made. And he gets them both.
Now the secret is for Syracuse to make Missouri move the ball around the perimeter. Don't let them get a quick shot. The three-point, if they're going to take it, let them take it.
Nice overhead pass. Church too strong. Coleman with a rebound.
I'll tell you, Stephen Thompson just did a great job of keeping that ball live for Coleman to come up with the rebound.
Time has been called by Syracuse as Coleman travels to the bench. 77-72, 55 seconds to go. Both teams with 2 timeouts left. The winner here completes the final 8 and goes up against Illinois on Sunday afternoon. Missouri trying to get into the final 8. Virginia and Michigan meet tomorrow in Lexington on CBS. Illinois, Lou Henson's team, won here by 14 earlier tonight. They meet either Missouri or Syracuse on Sunday afternoon, and that'll complete the round of 8 as we continue our march to the Final 4. Once again, Tommy, you and I chatted with Jim Boeheim yesterday about the much-documented foul shooting problems of the Syracuse Orangemen. He's gotten to the point where he doesn't get angry discussing it. He just shrugs his shoulders. He said, we've tried everything.
And all the letters that he claims he's gotten, you know, from hypnotists to people, guys that are telling him to breathe 5 times before you take the shot. I think this ball club has really created a problem for himself psychologically. Matt Rowe is in there. He's a pretty great outside shooter, and his free throws are down. Started out as a 90% free throw shooter. He's down to 60%.
It's catching. Steal by Coward. Foul by Coleman. That's 5 on Derek Coleman. Fouls out with 14 points, only 2 in this half, protecting himself with the 3 fouls, but he did come down with 12 rebounds. And Lee Coward goes to the line. In the final 3 minutes of ball games in which Missouri has played this year, Lee Coward is 20 of 32, or 63%. Coleman looks on. Boeheim taking his time, making the substitution.
David Johnson's going to be in with Stephen Thompson, Matt Rowe, Billy Owens. These foul shots are made. They will jump all over the out-of-bounds man and try and direct the ball into one of the corners so that that player can be trapped.
He's got one more. On the full season, Coward hitting 71% in the final 3 minutes of games this year. 63.
You know, Syracuse has got to set some kind of record for playing the last 2 minutes of a game because of this inability to shoot foul shots.
Tip is good. Sandbody got it. 77-74.
They give him a basket. They should get a basket. Should get a basket.
Ball is inbounded. Church fouls Johnson. 1-1.
He's claiming that here's the free throw. Once it comes off the rim and it gets tipped in, by Billy Owens, that becomes a field goal, not a completed free throw. And they have given it to Missouri, but Rich Alley was up screaming, thought they only got 1 point on the scoreboard.
77-74, 44 seconds to go, and David Johnson, the freshman who hits 53% of his, gets one. He's only been at the line 63 times this year, and he gets that one, 53% for the season. Got them both. And Richard Manning comes in, number 34, replacing Stephen Thompson. That's to keep Thompson off the line. 5 points, Syracuse edge. They got here with a 16-0 run in the second half. Irvin for 2. That's a 2-pointer. It was close, but it was ruled a 2. Time has been called.
Was it a 3 or a 2? His foot is on the line. It's a 2. Great shot, but Ames are lost by ½ inches, and it was right on the line.
Byron Irvin got the 2. That gives him 19, cuts the lead again to 3, 79-76. With 34 seconds to go, Missouri can stop it one more time. Syracuse with 2 timeouts remaining. Rowe and Manning, Jim Boeheim, Syracuse team that lost the NCAA championship in '87. Keith Smart's jumper in Indiana. Last year knocked out in the first round by Rhode Island, trying to get back into the round of 8. And the winner of this game faces Illinois.
Just inbounding may be a little difficult right now because Doug Smith is going to be harassing the inbound passer.
They can run. There's Douglas. He'll shoot a couple, but he didn't get the field goal.
What a great play that time.
Of course, you can run the baseline after the made basket.
Yep. And what happened was, you'll see him take the ball out of bounds. It looked like they were going up one side of the floor, and they were overplaying Douglas, and there was nobody back there helping out. And beautiful pass by Owens. To make the scoreboard click, he's going to have to hit a couple of free throws.
That puts Sherman Douglas back at the line. 61% for the year, 5 of 9 today.
Still 32 seconds remaining in this game, and that's an eternity.
Stephen Thompson back in the lineup for Jim Boeheim's thumb. And David Johnson goes out. The second of 2. Lead is 5.
They've got Hareed in the game, so should as a target to foul also. First, they have to score here.
Underneath, they go for 2 from Smith. And the lead is back to 3. Timeout, Missouri. That is their final timeout of the ball game. And still, Tom, with 22 seconds to go.
We could have a full-course dinner while this last minute of the game is being played. And it's all because of the real strategy of knowing that Syracuse is not a good free throw shooting team. You would do this ordinarily anyway, but you really go after it because you know there's a good possibility that this strategy is going to pay dividends for you.
And what's at stake here? The winner gets Illinois. Illinois won by 14, knocking off Louisville. Louisville with 22 turnovers. So either Missouri or Syracuse takes on Illinois here in Minneapolis on Sunday afternoon. Virginia and Michigan, of course, play tomorrow in Lexington. These young Syracuse fans
Is that the prayer position?
If it wasn't, it is now. Sherman Douglas sank both of those free throws. And the conversation continues with Jim Boeheim. Of 30 now, Syracuse. Rich Daly, the 47-year-old interim coach for Norm Stewart. Fascinating tactical battle in the last couple of minutes.
Well, there's no question that with this advantage that you feel you have against Syracuse coming down the stretch, you're going to exploit it to the fullest. I think Syracuse also has got to get Missouri to waste some time with the ball on the perimeter. You got to make them waste some time themselves. Not when you get the ball, but when they have the ball.
Missouri cannot stop the clock now. Out of timeout. Syracuse has 2 left. 22 seconds to go. 81-78. On the court for Missouri, Smith, Coward, Church, Sandbody. They look for the long pass. And Syracuse calls time. They have 1 left. 81-78. Orangemen call time. They take it with 3-point lead and 18 seconds remaining. Let's go back quickly to our New York studios. Jim and James.
All right, thank you, Vern Lundquist. A chance to tell everybody once more that in less than 12 hours we'll have World Figure Skating Championship action from Paris, France, including the pairs competition and the men's short program. That's Saturday afternoon, 12 noon Eastern time. Then the road to the Final Four continues at 1:30. Game coverage starts at 1:50 with the Southeast Regional Final between Virginia and Michigan. That'll be followed by UNLV and Seton Hall for the West Regional Championship. The battle for Seattle on the line tomorrow. We'll have 2 teams advancing on to the Final Four after tomorrow's action. James, you've been watching this game. How about Syracuse down the stretch?
Well, the thing that actually got Syracuse back into the game, I talked about them being an emotional team. A few series of fast break opportunities, got the emotions high. Now they're trying to hold on.
Orangemen trying to become the 3rd Big East team to advance to the Final 8. Let's go back to Vern Lundquist and Tommy Heinsohn.
Jim and James, 18 seconds remaining. 81-78. Syracuse, and Sherman Douglas has been outstanding at the free throw line the last couple of trips.
Well, he's needed to make them, and right now they're going to have trouble inbounding the ball. They pulled one of their trick plays to get Douglas loose a little bit earlier. Let's see if they've got another little trick play.
Sambodi, number 42 in black, guarding against it. Ball is inbounded. Douglas is fouled by Peeler, Tony Peeler, the freshman. And Sherman Douglas goes back to the line. Derek Coleman fouled out with the 14 points and is resting his back, hoping he gets to play 1 more game at least against Illinois on Sunday.
Should Douglas make these free throws, at least one of these free throws, what Syracuse has to do is make Missouri spend some time getting a basket. Just don't give them 2 quick points. Make them spend several seconds trying to find an open man.
And Sherman Douglas turns around and says, lay back, calms his team back. Derek Coleman, the junior out of Detroit.
I think what I would be doing is getting up, man-to-man, a little pressure on Missouri, and make them come back and dribble the ball up the court, not as quickly as they want. They're going to allow them to advance the ball very quickly without taking any time off the clock. Get up on the people.
15 seconds to go. Irvin off balance, 3-pointer, no. Tip back, Irvin. That one won't go. They come back. Doug Smith tries a 3. No. The tip is good, but the horn sounds. And the Orange Men of Syracuse with clutch free throw shooting from senior All-American Sherman Douglas advance to beat Illinois. Douglas 8 of 12 at the line. Syracuse 21 of 32. But they hit the front ends of the clutch 1-and-1s at the end, and they win by 3. So form has held here in the Midwest. The number 1 seed, Illinois, will meet the number 2 seed, Syracuse, for the trip to the Final Four. Right now, let's go back to New York. Jim and James.
All right, Vern, we are down to 8 teams now left in the tournament. 2 teams from the ACC, 2 from the Big Ten, 3 from the Big East, and UNLV. That's the way it shapes up now. Is the next games, of course, will have battles for Seattle on the line. Now, let's talk about Chevy MVPs from this one tonight.
All right, Jimmy, for Missouri, we have Byron Irvin with 19 points in a losing cause trying to help the Tigers. Sherman Douglas, only 7 points in the first half, came out strong in the second half, 20. In the second half, 27 on the total, 7 assists for Sherman Douglas.
All right, James, of course, last night we saw 2 1 seeds eliminated with Arizona and Oklahoma losing. Tonight, as we run down the scores, you'll see Illinois, the 1 seed in the Midwest, advanced with its victory against Louisville, 83-69. Lou Henson's team advancing on with that victory. 83-69 was the final. Nick Anderson had 24 points in that game. Big win is what Lou Henson had to say. In fact, he said it's the biggest ever. Lou Henson talked with our Vern Lundquist after the game about this Illini victory.
Vern, I've had a lot of ball games in 34 years, but I've never had a game that meant more than this one. We had 2 starters out. We had Battle on the bench. Lowell Hamilton was on the bench, and we beat a very strong Louisville team with 2 starters out. So I'm really proud of them. I know now how they've been winning.
So, biggest win ever, says Lou Henson, who took New Mexico State to the Final Four in 1970. Georgetown and North Carolina State, the Hoyas win it by 8. Yes, there was a controversial play down the stretch. Chris Corchiana driving in was called for traveling. The bucket denied, which would have pulled the Wolfpack within 1 point of the Hoyas in the final minute. After the game, Brent Musburger talked to John Thompson about that call down the stretch and this Hoya victory.
John, any thoughts about the controversial traveling call against Corchiani? How did you see it from your end of the bench? Jimmy was quite upset about it. Would have pulled him to within 1.
Well, I never see a call against the other team objectively, Brent, and I would think I was sick if I did. Every foul that's committed against me, I think is a bad call. I think the officials are doing the best job that they can do, and it's a very difficult job. I certainly thought he traveled, but I also thought we were fouled, and I think that's why we have referees, and they have to make those decisions.
So the 1 seed in the Midwest, Illinois advancing. The 1 seed in the East, Georgetown advancing. Mourning had 6 blocks, but the Chevy MVPs, Rodney Monroe with 26 points for North Carolina State, and Dwayne Bryant nailed a big 3-pointer in the final minute, had a career-high 21 to lead the Hoyas. Duke tonight just demolished Minnesota by 17. Duke was led by Robert Brickey, who hit 9 out of 10 shots from the floor and had 21 points. After the game, Mike Krzyzewski had these comments about his Blue Devils' victory against the Gophers.
We knew we were a better basketball team. The kids are ready to play. Then you get the quick lead, and then you hope that they don't start thinking ahead because they're an explosive team. And it got a little bit sloppy, but Robert's play and Christian's play, I thought, were big factors in us maintaining that double-digit margin.
And the closest Minnesota was in the second half was 11 points. Now here are the final 8 teams. Michigan and Virginia in the Southeast, Illinois and Syracuse in the Midwest, Seton Hall and UNLV, Georgetown and Duke. You can look at the top half of that bracket, the top 4 teams, and realize that one of those 4 will be in the championship game. Likewise for the bottom half. Again, tomorrow, noon Eastern time, or for you folks in the East, road to the Final Four continues. And 1:50, we pick up the game coverage from Lexington with that game between Virginia, Terry Holland, and Michigan, with Steve Fisher, the interim coach, doing an outstanding job. Michigan and Virginia with a spot in Seattle on the line. That'll be followed by the second game, the UNLV and Seton Hall, the West Regional Final tomorrow. And again, a battle for Seattle in that game from Denver. 7 games left before we have determined our national champion. We'll look forward to continuing the road to the Final Four. For James Brown and all of us at CBS Sports, Jim Nantz saying good night for now. We'll see you tomorrow as we continue right here on CBS.
This year, Mizzou bowing out in the NCAA Final 16 to Syracuse, the final 83-80. The story much brighter on the other side of the river as the Fighting Illini of Lou Henson defeated Louisville 83-69. For brief highlights, let's go to Minneapolis. Take a look at Mizzou first. Byron Irvin, number 21, hitting the three-pointer outside, but he never could really get it cranked up tonight. Syracuse using its power inside as they went to Billy Owens, the outstanding freshman, for a basket there. The turning point in the game in the second half when Syracuse scored 16 unanswered points as they banged away here on the boards and went on to win it 83-80. Now the Illinois story as we go to the first game tonight from the Metrodome. Illinois in white to Kendall Gill underneath the Marcus Liberty for the jam. Lowell Hamilton and Kenny Battle playing with injuries and playing sparingly tonight, so Liberty came up big. Here comes the pride of Alton, Larry Smith, in for the two-hand slam as Illinois got that running game going, and oh, they're tough when they get in the open court. Here's the lob pass, missed off the rim, and here they come, looking like a track team, breaking up four abreast. The lob pass in for the slam right there, and Illinois winning it by 14 points. Our Gary Apple was at courtside for both of the games tonight in Minneapolis, and he joins us now live from the Metrodome. So good news for Mizzou, or bad news for Mizzou, good news for the Illini, Gare.
Zip, I think the key to the Missouri game tonight, early second half, the Tigers led 47-40. Syracuse went on a 16-0 run, as you said, and that really did it. 56-47 Syracuse led, and again they went on to win 83-80. They hit some key free throws down the stretch. The general, Sherman Douglas, big for Syracuse down the stretch, and so Syracuse moves on, ending Missouri's dream at getting to the Final Four, and also ending the dream of an Illinois-Missouri rematch-up like we had earlier in the year at the arena, which Illinois win. As you mentioned, there's a silver lining here because Illinois now just one win away from getting to the Final Four in Seattle. They beat Louisville 83-69 as they shut down Purvis Ellison to do so. And after the game, I had a chance to speak with a very happy Lou Henson.
That's why I'm so proud of this team, because they will not die. You have to knock them out, and they hung in there, and they thought they could win. A lot of people didn't, but the key is how they feel, and they knew if they went in and did the things that they're supposed to do, they could win it.
And one of the real keys for the Illini tonight, Larry Smith from Alton, Illinois, in just 17 minutes of play, he had 8 points and 4 assists and really got Illinois going when they hit a lull. Much more coming up in sports in a few minutes. Missouri goes down. Illinois moves on to Sunday to play Syracuse. Take it back, Zip.
All right, Gary, we'll talk to you later on in the broadcast about it.
Good news and the bad news from the NCAAs.
Highlights of that contest. Mizzou wearing its black and gold uniforms. Got it going early. The lob pass to Gary Leonard out of Belleville for the slam. It was a pretty even battle in the first half. Back came Syracuse with Billy Owens, the outstanding freshman. Mizzou led 42-40 halftime. Second half, Mizzou had a 9-point lead, but gave up 16 consecutive points. Then when they were down 4 after a no goaltending call, a horrendous mistake by the officials, Syracuse began to chip away. Mizzou never quit. Rich Daly saying, hey, I want to talk about that goaltending call, one of you guys sometime. I mean, come on, can't you tell goaltending? Anyway, it didn't matter as Mizzou just didn't have enough. They did score at the buzzer, but they lost it 83-80, as you saw here tonight. Now the pitch tonight in Minneapolis, and they go to Kendall Gill. Kendall Gill to the baseline. Look at the reverse layup. Brilliant performance by Gill. 16 points. Nick Anderson led Minnesota. No problems there. Georgetown built up a big early lead, then got challenged, then moved down at the end to win 69-61. So those two advancing in the East. To baseball. One thing the Cardinals didn't want to happen this spring was injuries in spring training. Today was not a good day in that department. Let's go to St. Pete. Take a look at Greg Matthews. He threw just 4 pitches before leaving the game with stiffness in the forearm of his pitching arm. Whitey said today there's no way he'll be ready for the start of the season. So who's going to pitch? Well, we don't know. Here's more bad news. Pedro Guerrero pulling a ligament as his spikes got caught in that ground ball. He'll be day-to-day. The good news, Jose De Leon, 9 strikeouts in 5 innings as the Cards beat the Rangers 1-0. Bad news for the Yankees, Dave Winfield underwent